Hey Jonesy Babes and Anonymous Jonesy Babes. What's up, Reddit Rebels? Happy Monday to you all. So today we are going to talk about Richard Tanner Osment. Okay? I know his mom is going through some things right now because she found a human foot. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, if this story becomes too much for you, please click off and then come back to it later if you want to. All right? Let's talk about it. Mom stumbles upon human foot and her very sweaty son after a woman was murdered with machete and concrete block. A Texas parolee accused of killing a 38-year-old mother with a machete and concrete block was caught after his mother reported to the deputies he looked very sweaty and she saw a human foot outside her home. Richard Tanner Osment, who is 36 years old, faces charges of first-degree murder in the death of Michaela Brooker. This is one of the most horrific, horrible, brutal senseless attacks that we've seen in a long time. McLennan County Sheriff Parnell McNamara said at a press conference announcing the arrest, "It never should have happened." So the bloodshed happened on Saturday in the 15,000 block of Old China Spring Road in China Spring, northwest of Waco. It stemmed from an unspecified domestic argument, authorities said. The relationship between the victim and the suspect was unclear. Now, Richard allegedly used a machete and a concrete block, fatally wounding Michaela Brooker. This was said by the sheriff. Authorities were called after the suspect's mother noticed her son was very sweaty and she saw a human foot lying on the ground behind an RV on her property. Okay. Richard's mother also reportedly saw the wounded woman behind the RV. "What have you done?" she asked him, according to the news outlet. Richard allegedly replied that Michaela tried to stab me. The suspect's mother ran into her home while her husband called 911. First responders arrived and began treating Michaela as the suspect fled. Michaela was flown to a hospital where she died, and law enforcement from multiple agencies fanned out on the ground and by air to search for the suspect. Richard Tanner Osment was found 10 hours later hiding underwater in a stock tank in the woods near the crime scene and was taken into custody, the sheriff said. Wait a minute. Okay, let me read this part again because I want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. Richard Tanner Osment was found 10 hours later hiding underwater in a stock tank in the woods near the crime scene and was taken into custody. He was hiding in a stock tank. Okay, so I had to look up what a stock tank was. And it says a stock tank is a large, shallow container used to store water or other liquids, typically made of galvanized steel. Is that something that hunters use? If you know what I'm talking about, please let me know in the comment section, okay? I never heard of a stock tank before. But anyway, let's continue. A GoFundMe was set up to help support Michaela's child. We are heartbroken to share that our beloved Michaela was tragically taken from us too soon, the site said. A victim of a senseless act of violence, she was a cherished mother, daughter, and friend. Now, at the press conference, the sheriff revealed details about Osment's criminal past. He was released on parole within the last several months after serving 10 years of a 40-year sentence for burglarizing churches and homes in the area, said McNamara. He is being held at the McLean County Jail on a $1 million bond, and online booking records show that. So you mean to tell me this guy was paroled after 10 years? Why was he out of jail, first of all? He got out after 10 years. And now look what happened. He murdered somebody. Okay, so I found a little bit more information about the burglary. Richard Osment was in jail for burglarizing Clint Lewis' mother's home just down the street from where the attack reportedly happened. My mother lived in that house that I now own, Lewis said. She lived there by herself and she'd gone into town or something. Lewis said when his mother returned home, she found 2 people inside, including Osment. He ran away after. She was an elderly lady and she lived alone, and she knew the man that lived down the street from her, Lewis said. So she was frightened for the rest of her life. It was horrible for her. Police later caught and arrested Osment. He was sentenced to 40 years for the burglary, but paroled out after serving 10 years. How did he get out of jail in the first place? Why? What would have convinced someone to have granted him parole to let him back on the street with all the charges, all the nefarious things he has done? I just don't get that, Lewis said. He never should have gotten out, and he did. McNamara said during a news conference on Monday, anytime you see somebody paroled out early like this and they commit this kind of crime, it's senseless. It didn't have to happen. After he reportedly attacked Michaela Brooker, Richard Osment fled and hid from authorities for 10 hours before they caught him hiding in a stock tank just 100 yards away. That is, oh my goodness. Now, according to another article, it says here that Osment was indicted on multiple counts of burglary in 2014, and it shows on online court records. When I try to go to the court records, for some reason, the site wouldn't allow it, so I'll keep trying later. He waived his right to a jury trial and entered a guilty plea in the case. In 2015, he was sentenced to 40 years behind bars. Okay, we know that. Oh, man. Osment's mother found her son standing outside. Like she said, he was very sweaty. She tried to walk past him, but he stepped in front of her and wouldn't let her pass. And this is what's said in the complaint, which noted that after pushing past anyway, she, saw a human foot lying on the ground behind the RV on the property. And that's when she yelled at him and said, "What have you done?" Oh, man. The complaint, which stated that his mother had retreated into the house yelling and barricaded herself until the responders arrived. This is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. What the heck is going on these days? This is... So the sheriff said, they went out looking for him. And he said, when we were horseback riding along the tank, when I was able to see him, from his neck area to the top of his head, Deputy Falcon said at the press conference, adding that he spotted Osment, who was hiding under a tree limb in the water. when he shook his head and the water splattered. At that moment, I told him to stay still. We got officers. Falcon, continued, adding that Richard Osment tried to submerge his head back in there, but he instructed him at gunpoint to remain above water as the SWAT team surrounded him. I'm just glad they got him off the street. Like, okay, if you having an argument with somebody, that's one thing. But this domestic dispute, ended in murder with a machete and a concrete block. Like, that's crazy to me. Now, as a juvenile, Richard Osment had been charged with SA, according to the sheriff, who noted he did not know further particulars of that case. So, and that's what I have written down. He's a registered ex-offender. Wow. What do you guys think about this? Talk to me in the comments about this case. This is crazy. This is absolutely insane. He's definitely going to get life in prison without parole. I'm not sure how other states do with the death penalty, but come on now. He's going to definitely get life without parole. He was already sentenced 40 years. After 10 years, he got out. And now look. But the mom, oh my God, I know she's devastated. She saw the body. She saw it. She's probably having all types of nightmares. And the fact that it's her son. Boy, oh boy. And it seems like he's been nothing but trouble. He's been nothing but trouble. Since a juvenile, he's been nothing but trouble. But anyway, that's all I have on this. Let me know what you think about it. And I'll talk to you guys later.